My sister forgot to give my diabetic son his insulin while I was at work. He was being annoying, she said. My mom added, he's old enough to manage himself. He passed out. I didn't scream. I did this. 4 days later their phones were blowing up, and their reputations were gone. I always knew my family had a weird thing about my son Cody. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 11, and from that moment on, my sister Kendra and my mom acted like it was just some dramatic phase. They joked that he was high maintenance or too fragile. At first I thought it was just their awkward way of dealing with it. But as the years went on, it stopped being awkward and started becoming something else. Something meaner. Now Cody is 22. He's quiet, smart, and never once used his condition as an excuse. He manages his insulin like a pro. Except when someone sabotages him. Last week I had to pull a double shift at the hospital. My husband Jordan was out of town for a conference, and Cody had run out of glucose test strips earlier in the day. He texted me while I was on break, so I called Kendra and asked if she could stop by the pharmacy and bring him his insulin pen, which he'd accidentally left at my place the night before. I even paid her for it in advance through Venmo like always. She said sure, no problem. When I got home at 11:45 p.m., I found Cody on the kitchen floor. His skin was gray. The insulin pen was still in the brown paper bag on the table, unopened. I didn't scream. I checked his pulse, called 911 and started CPR. The whole time I was working on him, I couldn't stop thinking about how many hours he'd been like that. His lips were cold. There was vomit on the tile. He'd been alone. They stabilized him at the hospital. His glucose levels had dropped catastrophically. If I had come home even 30 minutes later, I don't think he would have made it. The next morning, Kendra texted. Not to ask how he was, but to say she hoped I wasn't mad because, in her words, he was being annoying and acting like a baby. Then she added, besides he's a grown man. He can take care of himself. My mother chimed in later that day asking if I had finally realized Cody needs to toughen up. She said maybe this would be a wake-up call for him. I didn't reply. I sat at the foot of Cody's hospital bed watching the heart monitor, gripping the armrest so hard my fingers went numb. When Jordan flew back and walked into that room I just looked at him and said one word. Enough. He knew exactly what I meant. And 4 days later things started unraveling for Kendra and my mom in ways they never saw coming. I didn't go nuclear. Not right away. That would have been too easy. I wanted them to feel it slowly like cold water rising around their necks. So I started with the house. Kendra and my mom live in a 4-bedroom colonial on East Willow. Stone porch, French windows, white shutters. Everyone thinks they own it outright. They don't. I've been paying their mortgage for 5 years. It started after Kendra's ex drained their savings in court and mom's last wellness coaching business fizzled. I stepped in. I didn't do it for praise. I did it because they were family and they needed help. But they'd long stopped seeing it as help. To them it was a given. An entitlement. I canceled the payments the day after Cody stabilized. One call to the bank. That was it. Kendra texted 2 days later asking if there was a glitch with my account. I didn't answer. Then she called and left this long rambling voicemail about how the mortgage hadn't gone through and maybe the app glitched. I didn't answer that either. The third day mom texted me a photo of her and Ellie at a cafe downtown. The caption said, "Miss you, sweetie. Let's talk soon." As if a latte and a fake smile could clean up what they did. Jordan watched me scroll through it. I didn't say anything. I just set the phone down and stared at the wall until the room blurred. He sat next to me, put his hand on my knee and said, "You don't have to fix them." But I wasn't trying to fix them anymore. On day 5, Kendra messaged again. This time it wasn't subtle. "I know things have been tense, but please don't let the house fall into foreclosure. I can't afford this place without you. I'm trying to get a new job, but it's been hard. Please." A few minutes later, another one. "Can we meet? Just talk." I didn't respond. That night my daughter Ellie came home quiet. She hovered in the kitchen before finally asking, why did Grandma say we're being cruel to her? I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her exactly what had happened with Cody. How he almost died. How they left him there knowing he needed help and did nothing. Guessed why? I told her I don't know anymore. He cried that night. Not for them. For the mess of it all. The fracture. And I hated that part. Because even though Jordan kept saying we were doing the right thing, Ellie was hurting. And Cody still looked pale and unsteady. And I still felt like I was walking through fire every time my phone buzzed. But this wasn't over. Not even close. They still had their friends. Their image. Their wine nights and Sunday brunches and little social charity committees. They still had their reputations intact. And I was about to take that too. They always thought I wouldn't say anything. That I'd protect them like I always did. That I'd swallow the truth to keep things from getting messy. That I'd stay quiet. For Ellie, for Cody, for peace. They didn't understand what they'd done this time. This wasn't one of their usual stunts. This wasn't gossiping about me behind my back or forgetting a birthday. This was almost killing my son. So I told the truth. Not on Facebook. Not in some rage-filled post. I just started having conversations with people they knew, people who trusted them, people who would actually listen. The first person I called was Lauren, an old friend of Kendra's who now ran 2 different local fundraisers. I told her everything. No drama. Just facts. Cody needed insulin. Kendra had it. She didn't give it to him. He collapsed. I did CPR. Hospital. I see. Almost didn't make it. There was this silence on the line when I finished. Then she said, Jesus. I had no idea. That's how it started. Within days, word spread. People started reaching out. Women from the yoga studio where my mom taught asked if it was true. Parents from the diabetes support group I co-chaired asked if we needed help. One of the nurses I worked with said she overheard a couple talking about some woman who neglected her nephew with diabetes and nearly killed him. They didn't know they were talking about my family. The fallout hit fast. Mom lost 3 yoga clients in 2 days. She tried to play it off like people were just cutting back financially, but I saw the emails. One woman wrote, I'm no longer comfortable leaving my daughter with someone who doesn't take medical conditions seriously. Kendra was worse off. Her little Etsy shop, full of handmade boho decor, was suddenly buried in bad reviews. Not vicious ones. Just people saying they couldn't support someone who could do something like that. She tried deleting them. It didn't matter. Screenshots were already making the rounds. And then came Claire Benson. Claire ran the town's biggest annual charity auction. She was the kind of woman my mother had spent years trying to impress. Always tagging her in photos, always bringing her lemon bars she didn't ask for. Claire posted something on the neighborhood Facebook group. No names. Just a short message. It costs nothing to show kindness to someone who depends on you. It costs everything to pretend it doesn't matter. Everyone knew who it was about. No one defended them. By the end of the week, the same neighbors who used to wave at my mom from their driveways were walking right past her without a glance. Kendra stopped posting on Instagram. Not even stories. Jordan told me to be careful. That humiliation makes people reckless. And that was before I got the alert. It was from my bank. Someone had tried to reset my online account password. They used my mother's maiden name to answer the security question. It failed twice. Then my phone buzzed again. The second attempt. This time from a different device. I didn't even need to guess who it was. I just stared at the screen and felt this slow, cold wave crawl through me. They weren't even ashamed. They were scared, desperate, and lashing out in the only way they knew how. Jordan took my phone, locked the account, and filed a fraud report. He kept telling me not to panic, that we'd catch whoever did it. But I wasn't panicking. I was planning. I didn't tell Cody about the bank hack attempt. Not yet. He was getting stronger, back on his feet, but I could see he wasn't ready for more. His appetite was still off, and he slept in long stretches like his body was trying to recover from more than just low blood sugar. I wasn't about to hand him more stress, not when I could handle it myself. Jordan wanted me to call the police. Almost did. But instead I gave them one last chance. A text. To both of them. I know what he tried to do. Stop now. Or you'll regret it. I didn't get a reply. Not that day, not the next. But 2 mornings later, someone keyed Jordan's car. Deep, wide strokes. Across the driver's side door. Liar. We had security cameras, but of course they wore a hoodie and avoided showing their face. Jordan didn't say a word. Just drove it straight to the repair shop like he already knew this was going to get worse before it got better. That afternoon, Ellie came home from school shaken. Someone had told her that I was turning everyone against her family. Said I was crazy and obsessed with money. She didn't say who. Just that it hurt. She wanted to know if I hated Grandma and Aunt Kendra now. I told her the truth again. I didn't hate them. But I couldn't protect people who tried to hurt us anymore. She didn't respond. Just nodded and went upstairs. That night, Jordan sat me down. He said I had a choice. Let them sink or drag them down myself. But either way they were going under. So I made a decision. I started pulling receipts. Screenshots of the Venmo payments I'd sent for their mortgage every month. Email chains where they begged for help with utility bills. Copies of the prescriptions and the pharmacy receipt Kendra never delivered. I put it all together. And then I emailed it. Not to the police. Not to them. To 3 people. Claire Benson. Lauren from the fundraisers. And a woman named Meredith Jameson, an editor for the local newspaper's community feature section. Within 48 hours the paper ran a piece. Front page of the community section. Title: A son, a sister, and a silence that nearly killed. It didn't name them, but everyone who mattered knew. There were quotes from diabetes experts, a short statement from the hospital about the severity of the situation, and a line from me that they pulled in bold. I don't want revenge. I want accountability. And I'm not going to cover for anyone anymore. Their phones must have been ringing off the hook again, but this time no one was calling to gossip. They were calling to cancel. Clients. Orders. Invitations. Even the church dropped them from the community newsletter. quietly but deliberately. That's when I knew they were panicking. Not angry. Not defensive. Just scared. The kind of scared that makes you sloppy. Because at 2:11 a.m. I got a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. And when I listened to it, I finally heard something I never thought I'd hear from my mother. He was crying. I listened to the voicemail twice. My mother's voice was shaking, words tumbling over themselves. She wasn't yelling, not like she used to when she wanted control. She was begging. She said they were sorry. That they hadn't meant for things to go so far. That they never imagined it would end up like this. That Kendra was spiraling. That their HOA board had asked them to step down from the social committee. That people they'd known for years had started avoiding them in the grocery store. She said they couldn't afford to lose the house. I sat there in the dark with my phone in my hand and wondered if she had rehearsed it. The crying didn't move me, but something about the message didn't sit right. She kept circling around one phrase, "We never meant for this to happen." What did this really mean to them? I found out the next morning. Jordan opened the front door to grab the newspaper and froze. Sitting on our porch was a manila envelope. No postage. Just Harper written in big block letters. Inside were printed screenshots. Dozens of them. Emails between Kendra and someone named Travis, dated 3 months earlier. They were talking about me, my money, my family, and my job. One email said, if Harper loses it at work, they'll suspend her. We could argue for temporary guardianship over Cody if he's declared unstable. Mom thinks we'd have a shot if Jordan wasn't around. Another, she has way more saved than she admits. Cody's condition is her weakness. I couldn't breathe. I sat at the kitchen table and read every word. They'd been planning something. I didn't know what exactly, custody, power of attorney, something ugly, but the point was they weren't just neglectful. They were deliberate and stupid. Because someone gave this to me. I called the number listed on one of the emails. It was Travis. He used to do freelance IT work for Kendra's ex-husband. I didn't say who I was. Just asked how he got these. He hesitated. Then said quietly, she never logged out of her email when she used my laptop. I thought you should know. I asked him why now. He said, I have a diabetic kid. I couldn't sleep after reading that article. I told Jordan everything. He sat there for a long time staring at the envelope, then stood up and asked where we kept the spare flash drives. He copied the files, labeled them, and then said, you have everything you need now. He was right. I had the financial records. I had their lies in writing. And now I had proof that they'd planned something deeper, something meant to destroy us. But the part they never understood is this. I'm not like them. I don't throw people away and walk away clean. I expose them. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. I knew they were scared. But I wanted them to know exactly why they should be. Not because of what they'd done, but because of what I now held in my hands. 3 days after I got the envelope, I asked to meet. One-on-one. Just my mother. I told her to meet me at the park by the lake, the same place she used to take me and Kendra when we were kids. She showed up looking hollowed out, like a person trying to hold on to a lie too long and starting to forget which version of it she's told. She tried to speak first. I didn't let her. I pulled out a single page. One of the emails between Kendra and Travis. The one about trying to get temporary guardianship over Cody. I handed it to her. She scanned it once and her face went pale. Then she folded it slowly and whispered, where did you get this? I just said, does it matter? Then I told her the deal. They would leave Cody alone. Forever. No calls. No birthdays. No visits. No inheritance games. Nothing. They would take my name off everything. Bank authorizations, mail forwarding, emergency contacts. They would sell the house within 60 days. I gave her a printed sheet of 3 local realtors who specialized in fast sales. If they didn't, I'd release everything. Not to the police. To the people who still mattered to them. Church leaders. Former clients. HOA boards. Community committees. And most importantly, the medical board where my mother had been quietly petitioning for reinstatement as a health coach. Then I said one last thing. This isn't revenge. This is mercy. She left without saying a word. Kendra never contacted me. But I heard through Ellie, who heard from a friend, that she'd packed a suitcase and gone to stay with a cousin in Pennsylvania. Probably waiting for things to die down. They won't. As for Cody, he's back in class. His color's back. He doesn't talk about that night and I don't push. He's reading more. Writing again. Eating with us at the table every night. But Ellie's still healing. She hasn't spoken to her grandma since. Sometimes I catch her looking at the door like she half expects them to knock. Like part of her still doesn't believe they're gone for good. Last week Jordan told me something strange. He said he'd checked the spare flash drive again, the one where we stored the emails, and found a new folder. Dated 3 days after our meeting at the lake. Inside was a voice memo. 30 seconds long. It was Kendra. He was talking to someone. All she said was, she doesn't know about the other account. If we move the money before. Then it cut off. The drive had never been connected to Wi-Fi. It had never left our house. Jordan thinks maybe Travis sent it. Maybe he had access to more than we thought. Maybe it was meant as a warning. I haven't told anyone else. Not yet. Because whatever other account they were talking about, I'm going to find it. And when I do, I'll decide what kind of mercy they deserve next. Mini update, the unseen account. A week has passed since I found that voice memo. I haven't told Jordan or the kids. Too much hangs on this. But every night I shut the door behind them and dig deeper. I'm tracing bank transactions, reviewing old emails, phone records. My gut says they planted funds somewhere I'd never look. An offshore account, a hidden trust, something built on every penny I sent them for years. Ellie is healing. She smiles more at dinner. Cody's regained his spark. But I can't fully rest, not until I uncover that other account and decide whether to expose it or use it. Because this isn't just about money anymore. It's proof they tried to manipulate us from the start. And right now, I'm the only one who knows what's actually in play. So I move in silence. More soon.